Design thinking is a way to solve hard problems by putting a lot of attention on what the user wants. Design thinking is something that most people who work in design or innovation have heard of and maybe even used. At the very least, it has been talked about so much that some people now think of it as just a bunch of buzzwords with little real meaning. So, what is the real value of design thinking, and when does it help the most? The thing that makes design thinking unique, but not new, is that creative people, including designers, have been using these methods of intuitively coming up with new ideas for hundreds of years. In many ways, design thinking is just a way to describe and explain the creative process that is at the heart of everything humans do. Design thinking is different, and maybe even radical, in that it puts people's needs first. After all, it is for people that we are solving problems. In our world of big data and depersonalization, this is a surprising act of extremeness. If we don't think about how it helps people, the study of design is just an exercise in aesthetics with no point. Design thinking is still a radical act because it is based on asking questions. It challenges the assumptions, the problem, and the implications. So, design thinking is a great way to deal with many different kinds of problems that aren't well defined or are hard to understand. This is because it helps you reframe the problem in terms that are more focused on people. The 5 steps of the design thinking process. These 5 steps can be done over and over again to polish and improve our solutions. They don't always have to be done in the same order, but they can be. Don't think of phases as being fundamentally arranged in a hierarchy or in a straight line. Instead, think of them as a journey with a direction and a goal, possibly with stops or shortcuts along the way. The design thinking process can be broken down into 5 steps or stages: empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Let's look at each of these steps in the context of a real design process. Empathize. Get a good understanding of the customer in phase 1. As marketers, we think we know what's going on in the business. But in reality, we often talk to ourselves first and make assumptions that aren't always true or correct, especially when it comes to our users and customers. Empathy is the starting point for all good design thinking solutions, and even though strategic business goals are important, you shouldn't be solving a problem for your client in the first place. Even though it may sound harsh, understanding the customer is the key to making a business successful. Only by knowing what consumers want, what's stopping them, how they feel, and what they want to achieve can brands find new ways to find white space and new opportunities. This means that they need to see and talk to people in order to process their experience on an emotional and even a psychological level. During this phase, everyone who has a stake in the project needs to try to put aside their own ideas and get real insights that are relevant to the problem and useful to the design team. When designing for CPGs, it's important to think about the culture of the people who will be using them. Are there important cultural changes going on? What does the visual language of our culture or group look like? How do they feel and deal with things? How can we help them get through it? Step 2. Give details. Make a great design brief for everyone involved. In the second stage of the process, the main goals are clarity, focus, and clarity. Gather all the information you've gathered about customer needs, obstacles to meeting those needs, lifestyle realities, and cultural influences. This will help you start to make sense of the options you're thinking about. What themes or patterns keep popping up? What new unmet needs didn't come up before? What unplanned problems could take our attention away? Do we have the right questions? Do we need to change what we think we know about the task at hand? A strong creative brief that was made with both a focus on strategy and creative thinking is the best way to find the best ideas and reach agreement along the way. Internally, a strong brief gives our design teams direction and information they can use. It also gives the client table early thought leadership to help build consensus and get things moving. Once we have a clear idea of the problem, we can start the brainstorming process with confidence and creativity. Step 3. Brainstorm with other people. Now that you know a lot about your audience and the problem you want to solve, it's time to start thinking about possible solutions. During this stage, creativity and intelligence are let loose on the real world. Before making decisions about how to do things, a group of people with different interests, led by design, must first come up with creative or design pathways that might lead to answers. Before we make sketches or designs on a computer, we need to agree on where the challenge might take us and figure out how creative and long-lasting the chances we see in the terrain are. This creative but messy phase can be helped along by techniques like brainstorming, mind mapping, landscape mapping, and using post-it notes. The key is to create an environment where different thought-provoking options are welcomed and considered, with the goal of deciding on a few of the most promising paths to explore. Use your intelligence as a yardstick, your clearly written brief as a guide, and a SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Analysis to figure out if each possible option is strategic viable. Step 4. Make a model. Do something inspiring design sprints or rapid sketch sessions. The fourth step is all about trying things out and turning ideas into real artifacts. One of these artifacts could be a new way to build something, a retail experience, a system for designing packages, or a consumer's journey. Rapid iteration and even prototyping are important steps to take to give the work life right away, no matter what the task is. Don't be afraid to use creative, user-friendly ways to show how the solution works. When putting each solution to the test, it's important that the consumer understands what's going on so that any gaps, limits, or mistakes in the way the solution is thought of can be found. During this stage, proposed solutions may be improved, changed, or thrown out based on evaluations and criticisms from the whole team. By piggybacking on ideas from different places, this quick iterative method celebrates cooperation, makes the delicate process of coming up with new ideas less personal in a way that gives teams more power, and gives creative people the freedom to make mistakes and disconnect from their work in healthy ways. Step 5. Test. Ask people for quick, useful feedback. After your iterative prototyping and creative work, look for ways to test with customers in a quick and natural way. Even though eye tracking and quantitative benchmarks are often used to test designs, a qualitative sharing session with customers can go much deeper into the why of the feedback. Use a friends and family strategy if you don't have enough money or if your clients don't want to give up their usual business methods. When you talk to customers, it's important that they care about the problem you're trying to solve. Questions that don't have a right or wrong answer, like what problem could this solve for you? How might this treatment change your life? Or what else could be done to make it a better solution? This line of questioning avoids answers that discourage iterative improvement and encourages users to make useful changes to the idea or solution. Avoid yes/no questions and which do you like, instead of focusing on the best way to solve the problem at hand. At this point, put your new knowledge back into the process and keep improving your ideas until you find the answer. The step-by-step method of design thinking comes into play at this point. Design thinking is easy and comes naturally. Don't get caught up in the intellectual debates about design thinking because they can be very scary and go against its own goals. Using design thinking to codify and organize your creative process will lead to stronger teams, better collaboration, more designer confidence, a more resilient design culture, and most importantly, possibly game-changing ideas that make other people's lives better.